Today's video is going to be about double exposures, and in my case, double exposure street photography. Welcome to the Streets Wide Open channel. If you're new here, my name's Pitsy and I make photographs out on the street. So what do I mean when I say double exposure? Well, in old film days, people would take an exposure, disengage the sprockets, recock the shutter, and then make another exposure. Now, they wouldn't be able to see what their first exposure looked like, and if they had an idea of what one they were going to blend it with, they couldn't sort of line it up precisely. So it was kind of a little bit hit and miss, whereas today with digital, you can take an exposure, you can then click the camera that you like that exposure, then it will put that exposure on your screen, but you'll be able to see through it and make another exposure and line it up how you want it. And you can possibly add to that. You can do more than 2, 3, 4, but I think, you know, things will get too busy and too cluttered. So most people just do 2, and that is what we're going to try and do. We're going to sort of go out on the streets, try and do like street photography versions of this. Hopefully maybe get some like people pictures with good backgrounds. I'm not too sure what I'm going to look for. I've never tried this before. So I'm thinking like maybe textures, possibly. There's a good chance that these shots maybe look like they're shot through a window and it'll look like it's reflections. I'm not too sure. So it's a bit of an experiment. We're going to go out and see what we can get. I'm going to use my XE4. I've got multiple exposure in the My menu, which is at the bottom, and I've got it set to additive. And I tried the others and I quite like the additive the best, but you know, if you're going to have a go at this, or you might even have a different camera with slightly different settings, I would experiment and see which ones you like and prefer the best. As I said before, it's going to be experimental, so a lot of shots probably aren't going to be any good, but I think if I get 1 or 2, then I think it'll be a worthwhile experiment, and I think the more that I do it, the more I'll know what second shots to look for, which will make good blends. So let's get out and do it. I'm finding I take the first exposure and then do a second one, and I use the exposure compensation and drop it down a stop, and I'm finding that's working really good. Also, I'm finding the best way to get the double exposure is to shoot something dark first and then get the point of interest in the dark part of the first image. What I'm going to do is, if you guys have a go at this, then if you upload it to Instagram with the hashtag #MyStreetsWideOpen, then what I'll do is I'll pick some of my favourites out and I'll show them at the end of my next video. This image, you know, I just kind of was looking for the same thing I always look for on the street, like I said, and I saw this guy leaning up against the wall. You have the leading lines, so I took a shot of him. I took a few shots, as you can see, because I was trying to like maybe getting a bit of the benching that was in front of me as well. And then what I did was I thought, right, I'm going to look for another image that had bricks in, or some kind of wall, something like that, that would kind of maybe blend with the first shot. And because I was shooting across the road, I wasn't too worried about using the viewfinder. No one was really looking my way. And yeah, this is the shot that I ended up with. Definitely one of my favourites. I've got to say, using the screen to do the double exposures is really tricky, especially, well, I don't know if every camera's, I think some cameras have better screens than others and you can see them better, but you take the first image and then it'll put it on your screen, but you can see through it, so you can line another image up. Well, I like to shoot with the screen sometimes out on the street, because then people don't really notice that you're actually taking a photograph. But a lot of the time I found myself, especially if it was sunny, I found myself having to use the viewfinder, which is easy. You can see what you're doing. It's so much easier to do it that way. But, you know, depending on the camera, like I said, you might have a decent screen that you can see. But on my Fuji XE4, when the sun was out, I really did struggle to see my second image that I wanted to do. So just remember, it's hard out there, guys. Double exposures is a bit of a hit and miss thing anyway, and on the street you're not getting any time to sort of really plan a shot. You know, you're not setting a shot up. I'm just kind of going with the flow. Whatever I see, I take a picture of, and then I'm double exposing it with something else. So, you know, I'll just kind of look for what I always look for normally, and then I'm trying to think, right, which is the best way to put another exposure over this. And like I said earlier in the video, I found a lot of the time, you know, was to shoot some darker stuff and then go over with another image on that, because with the second image it did tend to, like, if there were light patches, it would really overexpose it. So I was stopping down one stop, but it's one of those things, it's a bit experimental. I mean, that is the first time I've ever done it, so definitely experiment with it, and I'm going to experiment with it again because I really did enjoy it. So like I said, the images are all unplanned because it's street photography, but the good thing about it is, and I guess it's the same on a lot of cameras, you take your first picture, you click OK, and then it shows you the screen so you can see through it to take your second picture. So some pictures I would go along, I'd take another picture, think this is going to work, and it would look pretty rubbish really, so I could press the back button and it would get rid of that picture, and then you have another go, and I could do that numerous times. So that made things really easy, and it gave you multiple chances to try and get that good second shot. Right, that's it for this one. Remember, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time out on the streets.